Hey everyone, and welcome back to another week of Moving to Georgia. I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group. I'm excited to be here with you. Thanks for joining us tonight on the live stream. And of course, make sure you let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. And today we are going to dive into all the things that you need to know about buying a home in Georgia in 2023. Look, I get it that we are in September and things have changed this year, especially compared to last year and the year before. So we are going to dig into some of the data, talk about what are some of those things that you can expect if you are going to be a seller in today's market, kind of going into the last half of this year and looking into 2024. What are some things that you need to know if you are thinking about purchasing a home? So if you're joining us on the live stream, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Say hello. Don't be shy. And of course, if you have any questions about making a move here to Georgia, ask your questions. We're going to dive into answering all of those questions that you may have about making a move. So, yeah, one of the things I'm really enjoying right now is that, let's see, this is almost towards the end of September. We are just entering into kind of like peak, not peak, but we're just getting like hints of fall in the air in the mornings. And so when you walk outside, you need a little bit of a light jacket if you're cold natured like me. I'm sure if you are not cold natured, it feels great. And then this is the type of weather where you can dress for the fall-ish in the morning, and then by afternoon, you're like shedding off your layers because it's in the low 80s and it's hot, and but it feels great. The weather feels really, really great here in Georgia. So this is a really special time, and I just love fall. What is your favorite season? I really do think that fall is my absolute favorite season here in Georgia. We've got George watching us from Maryland. Hi, George. Thanks for joining us. And we've also got Dean from Colorado. And I guess you got your dog there as a picture. That's cute. I have 3 dogs. And one of our puppy, we did not do a good job. We have Karen Terriers. They have like really rough, coarse hair. And we didn't do a good job of like brushing him as much as what we should. And his hair is a little bit matted, and it has been a nightmare trying to get those kinks worked out. And he is not good at the groomers. And twice they've like kind of sent him home halfway. Like, we can't do anything. Dean is hopefully moving to Canton, Georgia when the rates are better. Oh, we are going to dive into and talking about just that today. So I love that tee up for the question. So let's dive into it and kind of talk about what you need to know about buying a home this year and what you can expect. So the biggest thing that you need to know about buying a home this year is we need to talk about the inventory. So if you followed along on the channel and you've joined me on the live streams for the past couple of weeks, this might sound like a broken record to you. And if you're just joining us and you haven't seen those, this is going to be brand new information. But depending upon where you're at in the country, it's kind of like a tale of 2 different markets. So you have some headlines where it's saying that home sales are sluggish, that homes are having a hard time selling, sellers are having to drop prices. It's a great time to buy. And then you have other parts of the country where homes are still selling like hotcakes. Do people still say that anymore? Like hotcakes? And that is kind of what is happening here in the North Metro Atlanta market, but it depends. One thing, though, you do need to know is that inventory is incredibly low. So I'm going to share with you the data of what you need to know. So I am going to pull up some of the most popular areas that we serve. So one thing that you need to know is across each of these areas across the top, it's going to show you whether it's a seller's market, a balanced market, or a buyer's market. So that balanced market, if that kind of like indicator was in the middle, that would be if we had about a 6-month supply of inventory. And what that means is that it would take 6 months to sell all the current inventory to all the current buyers. That is a balanced market. Anything less than that is considered a seller's market. Anything more than that is considered a buyer's market. And so you'll see here, this is the data for coming through August 2023. And you'll see that they have that indicator very strongly over there to the seller's market side. And you'll see here that there's 1.53 months supply of inventory. So that means that, relatively speaking, there's not that many homes for sale. And if you'll look in kind of the middle over here, it says the median days on the market is 11 days. So it takes on average 11 days for homes incoming to go under contract. So if you are in the market and considering buying a home incoming, you need to know that homes are still moving relatively quickly and there's not a whole lot of homes for sale. So when it comes to pricing, whenever we have low supply and we still have a lot of demand, that holds prices really, really steady. And so you'll see there, the median sold price of a house incoming is just over $600,000, and that is slightly up month over month. Now, the good thing about this is that we're not seeing like huge, wild increases month over month. And that means that we're kind of getting back to a more normal market, which is what we want. We don't want to see 20% year over year changes in home prices as we kind of saw in 2020 and 2021, because that's just simply not sustainable for the area. It's not sustainable for you um, as a home buyer. And, while it might be nice to be a seller, at the same time, you're going to want to turn around and sell your house. We have Bridge joining us from Alpharetta, soon to be incoming. All right, so you're thinking about making a move. So these stats right here line up. If you don't already have an agent, Bridge, we would love to be your agent. I would love to help you out here. So we recently had some clients incoming looking for a home. They're relocating from Denver, Colorado. And let me tell you, there just weren't hardly that many homes for us to go out and see. We had specific criteria of what we wanted. We knew that we wanted to be in a swim tennis community, and it took 2 house hunting trips to find the right home for them. And it was kind of like one of those opportunities where it's like, okay, well, we've seen everything there is currently on the market. And, typically you see homes pop up all the time. Well, that's just not simply the case right now. We have really low inventory, and this is not just incoming. So let's take a look here. This is for Gainesville. Now, Gainesville, you'll notice, has a little bit more inventory. Their month supply is 2.27 months and 18 days on the market. So more supply, lower average price point. So if you're in Gainesville, you're going to get more house for your money over here. And there's some trade-offs, right? Of course. But it's still very much a seller's market, but not as much as a seller's market incoming. So these are the things that you need to know if you're thinking about making a move here in 2023, because what this means for you as a potential buyer, if you're looking incoming, that's going to be more competitive than if you're looking in Gainesville. Price points obviously are different as well. And this is the information that you need to know about what is realistic that you can get under contract and what's a realistic price that you can expect to pay. And so whenever you work with me as your real estate agent, these are some of the things that we dive into a lot whenever we're talking about your specific strategy of how we're going to find you the right house and what you can expect during that process. But because inventory is low across the board, and because we don't really expect any surge of inventory to happen anytime soon, it's expected that prices are still going to hold very steady. So this is something that you need to plan for if you're thinking about making a move in the second half of this year, or if you're thinking about making a move next year. Home prices are not going to go down. So you really need to know that. So if you're counting on getting a deal on a house, or you're waiting for the market to crash, it's not going to happen. And it's my job to help you save as much money as possible. And it's my best advice to say that there's some good opportunity in the market right now. So as we're talking through this, if you have any questions about making a move here or questions about the housing market, make sure you go ahead and drop those in the chat. In the comments below, I'm going to pull those up and we are going to dive into and make sure that those questions get answered as we go through everything that you need to know about buying a house in Georgia in 2023. All right, so let's look at Swanee. Swanee is another popular town that we help a lot of clients make a move to. Swanee, like Cumming, only has about 1.5 month supply of inventory. Now look here at the list to sold price ratio for August, 101%. We're going to come back to that, but just note that things are competitive in Swanee. Also 11 days on the market. So homes are not really lasting very long and inventory is moving pretty quickly. And so as we say in real estate, you can either sleep on it or you can sleep in it. And, sometimes I have clients that want to think about a home. And while I certainly appreciate that, sometimes while we're taking that night to think about it, someone else thought about it the night before and might be making an offer on that home. So another popular area that we help clients in is the town of Alpharetta. So like Cumming and like Swanee, they have about 1.5 month supply of inventory, 12 days on the market. And the average sold price is $790,000 in Alpharetta. So you really have to take into consideration the inventory of what is available whenever you are thinking about making a move here. So let's talk about competitiveness. So one of the things we experienced in kind of like the unicorn years of the pandemic, 2020, 2021, people were paying outrageous prices for homes over asking price. And you had to do that because you had to be very competitive to get a home under contract. That essentially kind of became what the fair market value for a home was during that time. Now, the great thing is that those days are behind us, thankfully, in most cases. So I want to really what I'm seeing right now is like a tale of two different markets when it comes to pricing and getting a home ready for sale. This is a great agent friend of mine here locally in the area, and she posted this on Facebook. She had a great home that she listed in, I believe this home was in Alpharetta or Cumming, and 60 showings, 20 offers. Now, that is a lot of offers in today's market. And so one of the things that stood out to me about this is that if you'll notice the pictures, this home is staged really well. Whenever you look at the pictures, you look at this and you say, wow, this is a well-decorated, well-staged home. These are the types of houses that are being very competitive, especially when you have a really good listing agent like Kelly is, and she priced this home really well. Whenever you price it really well, you're going to get a lot of eyeballs on it. You're going to get a lot of buyer interest, and the demand's going to go up, which is going to, put yourself in a multiple offer situation. Now, I'm seeing this all across the board, all across Metro Atlanta area. When homes are priced well, priced right, and staged well, they're going into multiple offer situations. Now, again, not all the time and not 20 offers. So this was a little bit surprising to me to see this. And when I've worked with clients here over the past couple of months and we've experienced multiple offers, we've been like maybe one of two other offers, so one of three that were on the table. Now, the good thing is that for my clients who have been in multiple offer situations with that we've gotten under contract, we've not had to pay outrageous amounts of money over asking. It's been, $15,000 on average, and sometimes not even that. And so I just want to stress to you that just because we are in a high interest rate market right now, and because inventory is low, that doesn't mean that you might not find yourself in a multiple offer situation. So you will find yourself likely in a multiple offer situation when a home is just like I just showed you that Kelly listed, priced well, in great condition, photographs really well. You walk into it and you kind of get that like, this feels like a move-in ready house. Those are the prime opportunities to have a competitive offer situation. The homes that are not getting that type of traction are either homes that are overpriced, homes that are not move-in ready, homes that the seller didn't do a whole lot of stuff to get the home ready for the market, and it's kind of junky and cluttered. And also sometimes you, have like really outdated homes as well. Like those are not typically going to be your multiple offer situation homes. So one thing to keep in mind is that if you're thinking about making a move here and you're looking for more of an opportunity of a way to save money, or you're looking for a deal, we want to look at those homes that are overpriced, that don't have good staging, that need a little bit of cosmetic updating. Those are the opportunities for getting a home under contract. And on that note, Copper Mom, welcome, says, that's what my realtor is doing to my house. I wanted more, but he said, price the house, the right price, and it will get more offers. I commend you for listening to your real estate agent. Not all sellers will do that. And so I think you are getting some really great advice because it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but pricing your home slightly under market is going to work out better for you in the end. Because here's the thing, even if you got 2 offers or 3 offers on your home, what happens is that you are making those buyers put forth their very best offer and give you the very best terms. If it's not a multiple offer situation, someone's not going to lead with their very best offer. And so this is when you can get really, really favorable terms and you can kind of play the other offers off of each other. And so I think you've got some really great advice there. So good job for following your agent's advice. Where are you moving from? I'd love to know more. So that's great. So speaking of competitiveness and kind of speaking of what Copper Mom just talked about, let's talk about contingencies. So one thing that I'm working with several clients right now, and this might be your situation, is you might be in Copper Mom's situation where you have a house to sell and you're wanting to make a move. And in the past 2 years, if you wanted to buy a home here in Georgia with it being contingent upon your home selling, it was almost impossible to get a contingency accepted during the unicorn years, during the pandemic. It was really hard because there was just so many people who did not have contingencies and so many people that were willing to pay cash. So if you are someone that needs to sell a house in order to buy a house, there are some opportunities to get a home to sell contingency accepted. Now, here's where you can and can't get those contingencies accepted. If you are looking at a home, let's go back to Kelly's listing that I showed you those beautiful pictures of. Let's put that back up there. If it's a home that's like this and it's the first weekend on the market, this seller is not going to take a contingency. Why? Well, they just had 60 showings and they got 20 offers. If you have a contingency, your offer in the rank of order is going pretty much down to the bottom because the seller knows that you have a home to sell in order to purchase their house. There's a lot of risk there. There's a lot that could possibly go wrong. So if you are in that situation, my strategy session and advice to you is that, hey, we are not going to look at homes that have been on the market or that have just gotten listed. And the reason why is because that seller is not in a position yet to accept or take into consideration a contingency. They need more time on the market and they need more proof that they're not going to get these 60 showings and that they're not going to get these multiple offer situations. So we got to give it through that first weekend to know that they're not going to get that. Where you have the opportunity to get a contingency accepted is for those homes that have been on the market for 7 days or more. The longer, the better. The more motivated that seller is going to be. Now, there's going to be some trade-offs here because typically that home has been on the market a little bit for a reason. It could be bad photos. It could be that it's slightly overpriced, and it could be that it needs some cosmetic updating or a combination of all 3 of those things. So you have to, though, kind of work with what you have or wait until your home sells or we get your home like really under contract, your home to sell, and we're almost through all the contingencies. And then it makes it a lot easier to get a contract accepted. But I've recently had great success with several clients of getting their new home under contract contingent upon their house selling or closing. So you do have some opportunities. You just have to be smart and realistic about what you can and can't expect whenever you are working with a home to sell contingency. Now, speaking about other contingencies, during the unicorn years, you would have to kind of like waive appraisal contingencies or not have a home inspection or yeah. And so that was some things that we were seeing were very commonplace. The good thing is that when you're buying a home in 2023, especially in today's market, you don't have to expect that. Having an appraisal contingency is very normal, and having a home inspection contingency is also very, very normal. So you want to keep that in mind and kind of give yourself some assurance that you don't have to do anything crazy in today's market or crazy-ish adjacent, right? So Dean asked the question, what if you're pre-approved for a small equity loan and the rest will be cash for the home in Canton? I think you mean that you're taking the home equity loan maybe out of your current house and you're using that to bridge the gap between the cash that you have available. That is golden. So whenever you submit an offer this is a good thing for us to talk about. Whenever you submit an offer to a home, you have to submit a form here in Georgia, and you have to give the seller an idea of how you're paying for the house. So you're either telling the seller that, hey, I'm paying for this all cash, or I'm getting a loan. And if I'm getting a loan, here is how much is financed. And so essentially, if you're doing that home equity line, it essentially makes you an entirely cash buyer. So if I were your agent, I would work with you to make that an all cash offer. It's very easy to do to show proof of that cash that you have. And so essentially, yeah, you're a cash buyer, Dean. But when you're in a multiple offer situation, the better financing that you can present to the seller, the better. And the reason is that the seller they want to take the contract that's at least risk as possible. Now, you might be thinking like, hey, I'm saving for my first home, or we're making this big expensive move. We only have a little bit of money to put down. And that's kind of disheartening to hear that we might be looked at less favorably because we're only putting 3.5% down. Well, here is where having a really fantastic lender comes into play. So when I connect you and help you work with my great lenders, when we submit an offer, it's not just me calling up the agent and saying how wonderful you are and what great buyers we are going to be to work with, but the lender is also calling them and saying, hey, these are fantastic borrowers. I've already reviewed all of their documents. It's going to be a slam dunk. This one is a, for sure 100% bet, and this will get to the closing table. As an agent, when you get a phone call from a lender at night or first thing in the morning after an offer is submitted, and that lender tells you all that, it's golden. Not hardly very many lenders will do this and will go that extra step and will answer all those questions. So that is something that you need to know. Whenever you are working, who you work with matters a lot. And that's why you'll hear me say on this channel, and if we talk about a strategy session of how to get you under contract, is I strongly discourage you from working with big national lenders like Rocket Mortgage or Bank of America or Wells Fargo. Those lenders, they're not going to answer my phone call at 7:30 at night and say, hey, we just made an offer. I need for you to reach out to the agent. They're not doing that. They'll say, I'll get back to you tomorrow morning at 9:30 Pacific time. So then we're waiting until, we're East Coast, obviously. So that is something that you need to know. I kind of went off a little bit on a tangent there. So if you have any questions about the housing market or making a move, anything that you want to know, please go ahead and drop those in the comments. I would love to answer them, just like we've had some really great questions tonight. So I appreciate that. All right, so we've talked about inventory. We've talked about competitiveness. The next thing that you need to know about, and we talked about contingencies, the next thing that you need to know about making a move or buying a house here in Georgia in 2023, especially with today's financing opportunities, is that there is some great creative financing opportunities that you are going to have. And so just because you have higher interest rates right now, that does not mean that there is not some opportunities to save money whenever you are negotiating the purchase of your house. So first thing that you need to know is that right now, because interest rates are higher, it is very, very normal, and almost all loans are going to have some sort of rate buy down bought or worked into the loan. So typically all lenders right now are pricing out one discount point, which is going to lower your rate a tiny bit. And there's a sweet spot where you can get some more discount points, and you can get you can get a better rate, which is going to significantly impact your monthly payment. So what you need to know about that is that, let's just say, and I had this exact same scenario happen with a buyer a couple of months ago. We came across a home that was $500,000, and it had been on the market for over like 45 days. So we knew that there was some negotiation room here with the seller, and that they needed to sell, and that we could negotiate. And so doing some research, I felt like we had probably $15,000 here that we could work with, that we could negotiate on. Now, most agents and most buyers would say, hey, this house has been on the market for 45 days. Let's offer $10,000, $15,000 less and see if they take it. And so what we were able to do, though, is we said, wait, we think we have $15,000 to play with here. What if we took $15,000 as seller concessions, like using that towards closing costs, kept the price at $500, got the $15,000 towards seller paid closing costs. So keep in mind, if a seller is reducing the price of the house by $15,000 or giving $15,000 towards closing costs, it ends up being the exact same net to the seller. So the seller doesn't care how they get to their bottom line. They just want to get the house sold. But what we were able to do is run numbers with the lender, and we were able to find out that if we got $15,000 in seller concessions and use that to do a rate buy down, we were going to save them I think it was like $175 a month on their mortgage versus just the lower sales price. So lowering that sales price doesn't mean that you are going to get a better deal. You want to make sure that you are presenting the offer and working things in your best interest so that you can save the most amount of money. I was working with a current buyer right now, and they were with the previous agent, and the previous agent didn't tell them anything about this at all. And they wanted a specific house that it was at a little bit of a higher price point than what they were approved for. Well, if you have an agent that really knows what they're doing, and I knew that we could likely negotiate some seller paid closing cost or a price reduction, but I knew that in order to get him qualified at this higher rate, that if we had, higher price, that if we had a lower rate, that would likely make his debt to income ratio work out, and he would be approved for this house. So we ran numbers with a lender and said, let's negotiate closing costs rather than reducing the price of the house. And that got them approved for that loan amount and made it essentially the exact same cost as it would have been at the lower previous amount, like $30,000 less purchase price that what he was approved for. So you have an opportunity right now, if you are in the market to buy a home, and you really need to make sure that you are creatively thinking about making sure that you are crafting the terms so that it fits what's best for you and not just going for that price reduction. Copper Mom asks, what is the range rate for a new construction home? So that is a good segue into the next topic that I want to cover, which is new construction. But before we get to that, OTR Monk, you asked a good question. Are assumable mortgages a thing you're seeing in this market? So assumable mortgages are a good idea in theory. They're hard to put into practice. So this is what an assumable mortgage is. So let's say that someone bought a house 2 years ago with either a VA loan or an FHA loan, and they bought that house at a 2.9% interest rate. Those types of loans are assumable, meaning that you as a buyer today, if that seller wanted to sell their house, could come in and assume their mortgage. You could take over that rate, which sounds like a really good idea because you're like, hey, I want a 2.9% interest rate. Here's an opportunity to get that. The challenge is, let's say that seller, and this is what we're seeing happen right now, that seller bought that home 2 years ago for $350. Let's say they put 5% down, whatever that balance is. So let's just say they had a $320,000 loan whenever they closed on that house. Today, they are selling that house for like $500,000, or let's just say $475,000. So what happens is that whenever you go to assume that mortgage, you can assume the $320,000 purchase price for what that buyer financed years ago. But the challenge is the seller is selling it for $475,000. So how do you bridge that gap between the $320,000 loan that you're assuming and the $475,000 purchase price? Well, the only way to bridge that gap is with cash. You would have to pay cash at closing that would then get transferred to the seller to make that seller whole. The bank is not going to offer a secondary mortgage to cover that gap. And so there currently isn't any product on the market there is no lender that is going to loan that secondary amount. And a lot of people just don't have that much cash to make a seller whole right now, which is why we are not seeing hardly any assumable mortgages actually work out. But if you are a buyer and you have a really healthy down payment, or let's say that you recently sold a house and you have tons of proceeds to use from that, an assumable mortgage could be a very, very good thing to go after. But for the average buyer right now in today's market that has 5 to 10% down, they just don't have enough cash to make that seller whole. So really good question. Thanks for asking that. So going back to Copper Mom, asking about new construction. And so that is another thing that you need to know right now in today's market is that there is an opportunity in new construction. And I have worked with many buyers over the past couple of weeks, and I've been kind of floored by what we've been able to negotiate with new construction builders. So new construction builders, they want to move this inventory. They want to keep building. They want to get these homes sold. And so the great thing is that most of these new construction builders are medium to big size companies that have huge buying power. And they have negotiated or bought some pretty great mortgage products from mortgage companies at really good discounts. So 6 months ago, 9 months ago, they bought like a huge block of mortgages and they held on to them because they knew that they were going to need that to incentivize would-be buyers on their new construction homes. So you see a lot of builders right now offering special incentives right now to buy new construction homes where they will do the permanent rate buy down for you. So you might see builders advertising 5.99% interest rate whenever you buy a quick move-in home. Now, a lot of times they're going to require that you go through their lender in order to make that happen. And it's going to work out much more favorably for you as a buyer to do that because right now, interest rates are in the low sevens. And so having a 5.99% interest rate is a huge savings for you every single month. So comparatively, if you are open to both new construction and resale homes and you don't have a preference either way, you are going to save so much money right now as a buyer in 2023 buying a new construction home because builders are offering really great incentives. And with my two most recent buyers, I've seen anything between $20,000 in incentives to $35,000 in incentives. And they're kind of saying, hey, you can use that a combination of however you want. We can reduce the price of the house by $5,000, use the rest of it towards closing cost or rate buy down or however you want to split it up. And so those are some of the things that we're able to negotiate right now. And again, it depends upon the area. So if you are thinking about, let's say, making a move to Cumming or Alpharetta, those are such high demand areas and there's not a whole lot of new construction opportunities. Builders aren't having to do that there. If anything, they have a waiting list for their houses. But in other areas like Brazelton and Houston and Jefferson, Gainesville, these are all areas where you do have the opportunity to negotiate with these builders and get really good deals on homes right now. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, there's going to be some trade-offs with a new construction home, right? You are going to have smaller yards, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Most of these homes are going to be in a neighborhood with an HOA. So if you don't want to be in an HOA area, new construction is not for you unless you're looking in Monroe, which the town of Monroe has a lot of great new construction options, not in areas with HOA. That also has bigger yards. A little bit of a unicorn area to keep in mind. So that is what you need to know. But the trade-offs of a new construction home is it's brand new. You've got brand new roof, brand new HVAC system. You don't have to worry about the hot water heater going out. You're getting a warranty. You're getting that new house smell. How often do you get a new house? I hardly ever get jealous of houses going in and out of them so much, but I do on new construction homes because it's like, wow, this is so great. Everything's so nice and new and shiny, and there's no stains on the carpet, and the floors look great, and paint job looks good. So things to consider, always pros and cons. All right. What questions do you have about making a move or the real estate market? Let me know in the comments, and I would love to get those answered for you. Dean, you made a comment. Let me see if I can pull that up. So sounds like I need to call you. You do. My contact information is directly below this video. So right down here in the description, you should see my phone number, email, website. So reach out, get in contact with me, and we would love to work with you. So the purpose of us making videos on this channel is to educate you, help make this process moving easier. But we really do specialize in helping clients from all across the country make the move here. And we figured out how to do that easier. And we know the ins and outs of what that is like for you. So we are so blessed with the opportunity to get to help so many of you. And I really, really love it. So I would love the opportunity of working with y'all. All right. So if you, Skeeter earlier asked, what is it like living in Dahlonega? Dahlonega is a good kind of like north suburbs. So that's definitely kind of getting into the North Georgia mountain territory. Great, charming town. Many Hallmark movies are filmed there for Christmas. So if you want to live in a Hallmark movie town, Dahlonega is it. It is a college town, so the University of North Georgia is there. It's an old mining town. So you see a lot of gold rush themed restaurants and stores there because it was a big Georgia gold mining town way back in the day. Not sure what that day was, whatever year that was. But that is kind of like Dahlonega in a nutshell. It's kind of like at the foothills of the mountain. Got some gorgeous wineries around there, really fun antiquing, lots of great hiking. So I think it's a really great town and a great area to consider. All right. Well, if you're new to our channel, please make sure that you subscribe and you like this video. Every single Wednesday, I'm live here with you, answering your questions, sharing with you what's going on here in the Georgia real estate market. And then every single Sunday, we're bringing to you a video educating you about the towns and the different areas and the different neighborhoods that you need to know if you're considering making a move here. Obviously, you can reach out to me at any time. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, there is a sign-up link directly below this video as well so that we can get you signed up and keep you up to date if you're casually thinking about maybe making a move and you just want to keep your eye on what's happening here. Make sure you sign up for that newsletter, and we would love to stay in touch. Copper Mom asks, is Monroe a pretty safe area? So here's one thing that I will tell you from personal experience. All of these builders would not be building and developing these areas if it wasn't an area that a lot of families were seeking out or moving to, because otherwise they're just spending their money or wasting their money. Another thing that I like to tell clients to take a look at is, are they still developing in the area, or are like major restaurants and grocery stores and things like that coming to the area? Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Publix, all those great restaurants that have a really good solid base because that is their demographic. And so all of those places are developing there. So technically, as a real estate agent, I'm not allowed to answer like if things are safe or not, but I would not recommend any of these areas on my channel if I would not recommend them to my own personal family or my mother. And if we weren't getting lots of people wanting to move to those areas. So it's safe. Jane asked, what is the average size house in Gwinnett? Looking for a 3-2, but the homes look so large. That is a good question. I do not know what the average size is, but I'm going to guess 2,000 square feet. You have a lot of families in Gwinnett County, but Gwinnett is huge. It's the second most populated county in Georgia. And so it kind of, you definitely have some big houses there because you've got a lot of families that live there. And we like big families here in Georgia, or at least big houses. You also have a lot of basements that have finished spaces as well, which is adding to the square footage. So it really kind of depends on the year built. I would say for most new construction houses now, you're going to find that most new construction houses are at least around 2,700 square feet, depending upon the price point in the area. So it's a hard question to ask, but whatever you're looking for, we can definitely help you find it. So reach out to me and I can learn a little bit more of exactly what you need, and we will help you find the right house. Good question. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining me and spending time with me and learning more about what is happening here in the Georgia real estate market and what you need to know about buying a home. I would love to personally answer your questions. So if I didn't get to them, please reach out to me directly. Or if you're thinking about making a move here, reach out. We'll schedule that strategy session and get a solid plan in place for you. Till next week, I will see you next Wednesday here on the live stream, and I'll catch you this Sunday for the video that will go up. Like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next week.